The invitation arrived on a Monday. My mother had addressed it in her neat, practice script. Ivory cardstock, embossed edges, and the words, "Your father wants to celebrate you. Your 33rd birthday deserves to be shared with the people who love you." I held the card a long time. Something in the phrasing didn't sit right. Graham Wyndham never celebrated anything that didn't enhance his legacy. Still, I showed up. I wore blue, the same shade I'd worn at my 7th birthday. That year, I waited in a princess dress beside a cake no one came to cut. I thought maybe this time would be different. That maybe the years had softened them. Maybe they finally saw me. The Wyndham Estate Hall was lit like a magazine spread. High chandeliers, soft jazz floating in the air, servers with white gloves and practiced smiles. But walking in felt like re-entering a room I'd been exiled from. Have you ever been invited somewhere and realized too late the invitation wasn't really for you? 3 days earlier, I'd been in Merritt's office. I was finalizing some foundation paperwork. That's when I saw it. The document was familiar. The Wyndham Legacy Trust. I'd helped draft it years ago. I flipped through out of habit. My name wasn't there. Not in the allocations. Not in the appendices. Nowhere. "Merritt," I asked, voice even. "Why is my name missing?" He didn't look up. "You're not aligned with the brand anymore." I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it wasn't surprising. "Dad agreed to this." "He wrote it." I remembered his voice from a winter years ago. "Legacy is for those who carry the family." I wasn't erased. I was deliberately forgotten. The dining hall that evening pulsed with well-dressed bodies and soft orchestral music. 97 guests. Old family friends, board members, society fixtures. A young waiter approached. "Miss Wyndham." "Yes." "Right this way." He led me past the main tables, past the floral centerpieces and custom-engraved menus, to a corner near the service entrance. A table by the sink. My name card was handwritten. Everyone else had embossed gold foil. I sat down. People glanced. Some offered polite nods. No one spoke. The waiter returned. Quietly, "I'm sorry. I didn't set the seating." I nodded. Ever been seated like an afterthought when the party is supposedly for you? The music softened. A glass clinked. My father stood. "Thank you all for coming tonight," Graham began, his voice smooth. "To celebrate family, resilience, success." He smiled, the room basking in his charisma. "But tonight we also acknowledge that not all journeys are equal." His gaze found mine. Some paths lead away from purpose, from loyalty, from legacy. A pause. Then, "Delara chose failure, and somehow expects applause." The air changed. Murmurs. Eyes darted. I didn't flinch. I wouldn't. Even the quartet stopped mid-note. Someone snapped a photo. I felt the flash more than saw it. Humiliation. Sharp, quiet, complete. Rosalie appeared beside me moments later. Once my closest cousin figure. Now dripping charm. "You still teaching kids?" she asked, faux concern laced in every syllable. "That's sweet." Merritt, sipping champagne, added, "You always did love small dreams." Another voice, unrecognizable. "At least she's not hurting anyone." Laughter. The young waiter looked at me again. A flicker of something soft, maybe regret. But no one spoke for me. Not him. Not even her. Not Mom. "Would you have stood up or stayed quiet?" I rose. Smoothed my dress. No one stopped me. Not even Graham. Cecilia met my eyes. Her lips tightened, but she didn't move. "Where's she going?" Rosalie whispered. Merritt shrugged. I walked out, past 97 people. Past the chandeliers and the centerpieces and the curated cruelty. I didn't look back. I wasn't leaving the party. I was leaving their narrative. The apartment had no frames on the walls. No photos. No memories staring back. Just soft beige paint, peeling slightly in the corners, and a second-hand bookshelf that leaned a little too much to the left. I unpacked slowly, not because there was much, but because there was no one waiting to rush the process. A single suitcase, a box of books, a kettle. I opened my laptop. The nonprofit dashboard loaded. Still alive. Still humming. 3 programs running. For city partnerships. Monthly metrics intact. Most people didn't know where the funding came from. They didn't need to. Years ago, before they cut me out of their legacy, I'd moved my grandmother's inheritance into a quiet trust, one with no ties to the Wyndham name. When no one sees you, I whispered to myself, fingers hovering over the keyboard, you have 2 choices, disappear or become your own witness. Have you ever started over, not from scratch, but from being erased? Emails rolled in. A center director from Fort Worth, another from El Paso, and one from East Austin. 58 applicants this quarter. One kid said your talk saved his life. I remembered the talk. A drop-in shelter 5 years back. A cold room. Folding chairs. My mother sat in the back, silent. Afterward, she said nothing. But later that night, she emailed my father. She's throwing herself at charity cases again. The silence that followed me wasn't empty. It was full of choices others didn't make. The next morning, I walked into a downtown restaurant to meet a potential partner for a youth employment program. Ryder Quinlan looked up from behind the host stand. He'd grown into himself. Broad shoulders, dark apron, calm presence. His eyes met mine with a flash of recognition. You were the one, he said, a smile forming. The teacher who signed off on my scholarship when no one else would. We didn't hug. We didn't cry. We just nodded. Respect needs no fanfare. I saw your name on the guest list 3 months ago, he said quietly. I knew they wouldn't treat you right. I need eyes and ears, I replied. Quietly. He nodded once. Done. Mentor and mentee. Now allies. A few weeks later, an envelope arrived without return address. Inside, a photo from my childhood, the one by the piano at age 10. My face was scratched out. I held it between 2 fingers and didn't blink. Sarah, my mentor, sipped tea across the room. He's not done, she said calmly. You're not a loss to him, Delara. You're a threat to his control. I stared at the scratch marks. Was it worth confronting? Or was silence still my strongest armor? What would you do if silence gave you peace, but the noise came knocking? A message buzzed on my phone. From Ryder. Your father just booked room A at the downtown restaurant. Private charity dinner. He doesn't know it's yours. I sat still for a long time. Then typed, let it happen. No changes. The night of the event, I didn't go. But I watched. Security footage piped in quietly. 17 guests. Graham at the head of the table, toasting philanthropy with borrowed words. Halfway through, he stood. There's a shortfall for the Delara Wyndham table. About 3,000. He let the silence bloom. I assume someone here is willing to help considering she couldn't. Before anyone could speak, Ryder stepped forward. Calm. Measured. Sir, he said, voice carrying just enough. Ms. Wyndham doesn't need to. She owns this establishment. The room froze. Chairs creaked. Forks paused midair. Graham didn't speak. I didn't need to fight him. I just had to be undeniable. Later that week, another email came from Cecilia. Subject, enough. You've made your point. Please stop now. We can't afford this publicity. I didn't reply. I highlighted the line, afford this, and deleted the message. That weekend, I returned to the East Austin Youth Center. A new plaque had been installed near the entrance. No name, just words. Built by someone who believed before anyone else did. I ran my fingers across the metal. Not sadness, not pride, just freedom. The truth had a name now, and it was no longer hidden behind theirs. The lights were soft but precise, the kind that made you feel seen without being exposed. I stepped onto the carpeted floor of the gala venue. No entourage, no need for a spotlight. Just me, a black dress, and breath that stayed steady, even when my heels clicked closer to the stage. They called my name. Not Wyndham. Just Delara. There was a ripple of uncertainty among the audience. Some recognized me. Most didn't. That was fine. It was never about recognition. Graham sat in the front row, flanked by Merritt and Rosalie. Merritt stared ahead, expression carved in stone. Rosalie smiled like she still ran the room. Graham leaned back, arms folded, tension barely veiled. This is not revenge, I thought. This is remembrance of who I am. From the side wing, Ryder gave me a small nod. No words, just quiet faith. Have you ever entered a room where every person once ignored you and now waits for your words? The host called me forward. The Social Impact Legacy Award shimmered like it mattered. I didn't write a speech. Truth doesn't need formatting. I took the mic and breathed once. They called me invisible, I began. So I built mirrors for others to see themselves. The room stilled. I wasn't trying to prove I mattered. I had just stopped waiting for permission. Applause rose slowly, then built. I didn't mention my father. I didn't need to. Silence tells louder stories when it's held with strength. Somewhere in the back, someone clicked a photo. Online, the feed caught fire. Tweets pinged across devices. Delara Wyndham, yes, that Wyndham, just dropped the realest award speech of the year. Then came the twist. A journalist in the second row checked her notes. Her brows lifted. She typed fast. Headline: Wyndham daughter outsmarts dynasty in silence. Subheadline: Hospitality heiress secretly funds youth empowerment across Texas. And just like that, the room wasn't watching the award anymore. They were watching a narrative unravel in real time. Backstage, questions swarmed. Is Graham Wyndham your father? I looked straight at the camera lens. He's the man who taught me what silence costs. The press conference ignited. Graham's PR rep began spinning. Rosalie whispered into a hot mic, something about needing to control the narrative. It aired live. Her publicist resigned by morning. Cecilia stood up halfway through the speech and walked out, heels clicking like punctuation. Graham remained, stone-faced, but applause never came back. One by one, the power brokers shifted. Sponsors pulled their names. Donations redirected. Not chaos, just quiet, irreversible withdrawal. Justice doesn't need thunder. Sometimes it sounds like footsteps walking away from you. Have you ever watched someone lose control, not with chaos, but with dignity on the other side? The next morning, a formal apology arrived in my inbox from Graham. Words like stress, generational gap, and regret were stuffed into 5 dense paragraphs. Merritt posted on social media, claiming my performative victimhood was undermining real work. His comments were off within hours. I didn't respond. Instead, I updated the nonprofit website. Under Founders, my name finally appeared, spelled clearly, spoken silently, Delara Wyndham. Teen messages began pouring in. One video had a boy with nervous hands, speaking into his phone. I grew up thinking I was nobody. Then I saw someone like me owning the stage. Later that night, I returned to the youth center. Cecilia waited by the door, jacket clutched like it might defend her. I wanted to protect you, she said, but I was also protecting the lie we lived. Her voice cracked in the middle, a sound I'd never heard from her, not once in 33 years. She confessed. Years ago, she had vetoed Graham's offer to fund my first nonprofit idea, said it would look bad, that it made the family seem fractured. I listened, didn't interrupt. I forgave you long before this, I finally said, but I won't forget it. I walked inside. She stayed outside, watching me go, the same way Graham once had. Days passed. Stories cycled. I stood before a new group of teens in a mentorship session. Their eyes held questions I used to ask the mirror. Family, I said, isn't who stands behind you. It's who stands for you. Behind me, Ryder unveiled a new plaque on the entry wall. Founded by Delara Wyndham, for the invisible ones who made themselves seen. I didn't cry. I didn't pose. I walked through the hallway, my pace familiar, like the one I used to leave places that never welcomed me. But this time, each step echoed not silence but presence.